Swagalicious.
Swagalicious definitions
Oh my
make the girls go loco. What's up, guys?
What's
up, Dale?
I'm glad to see all of your faces. I am.
Yes.
I was afraid I was gonna get the B squad with like some like backup host, but I got the real deal.
Nah, I wouldn't miss this for the world.
I'm pumped.
The B squad.
Yeah, you know, when you guys can't all make it, it's a little disappointing for the listeners.
Oh, yeah, no. You know, we gotta all be there for Danger Dale, for the couch boy himself.
There you go. I did one of these last week with Survivor Analyst podcast.
Oh yeah,
and it lasted 4 hours. So I think my requirement is let's keep this under 4 hours, and I think we're good to go.
No, we don't. I don't have time for that. I have to watch The Bachelor.
I know, no one has time for that. Jack, are you still in Kansas City?
Yeah, for like 2 more months. I actually just got a new job, and I'm moving to Denver.
Oh, congrats!
Yeah.
Yeah, we Denver's really hot right now. It seems like everyone's moving there.
Yeah.
One of our new hires lives in Denver, so she says it's great. She like goes hiking every weekend and chills out there. And Sarah, are you still in San Diego or?
Yes, I'm in San Diego. I've been here for like 2.5 months now.
Yeah, you gonna make it back to Chicago or no?
Maybe during the summer, yeah.
There you go.
Or I'll have to come back to ice skate during the winter.
Sam, I know what you're up to. I've chatted with you enough.
Yeah. It doesn't matter. You know, I'm the boring one of the three. It doesn't even need to talk about Ann Arbor. What about you, though? What about you? What have you been up to?
Life is good. Trying to find a house, but this freaking housing market is nearly impossible, especially the neighborhoods we're trying to go into. So we've been looking for close to 4 months now. Still no house. Jeez. So it's been tough, but we're looking forward to hopefully buying a home, and we're at the point of our lives where we're ready to start a family, but we're kind of postponing that until we get a damn house. But
yeah,
so it's every day that goes towards house hunting is a day away from popping out junior swag. But it was funny because like I don't know. Well, I'm sure you guys know, but I don't know if the viewers know about like the paper plate awards that you get at the end of the season.
Yeah.
What did you get?
And mine was most likely to have a baby before the season is over. I was like, this is like so fucking stupid. And like now I'm like ready to have a baby. So they weren't too far off.
Goes close. That's funny.
Dale's always like 10,000 steps ahead of everyone.
Hey.
I don't know. Like way ahead of Ben too.
Really, 10,000 steps ahead of Ben.
Easy. Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, so that's good. Work is good. Like I had just mentioned, we have recently hired a few people. So small business is slowly growing into a team, and that's always exciting where you have a few people that you could rely on and grow and see like your little baby coming to fruition. So everything's been good.
Yeah. So you tell me you're not taking 2.5 credits at Michigan anymore? Like you moved past that?
I've moved past the 2.5 credit hours. But to be fair to me, because I've been hearing everyone's like, Dale did nothing that season except for play Survivor. The reason in which why I had so few credit hours was because I was working on the start of my company at that stage. So a lot of like the startup like headaches of, you know, incorporating and trying to get your first client and customer and doing all of the business development. So I was spending the time I would have been in the class actually growing the business, and then obviously spending hours upon hours of playing the game and searching for idols and, you know, the whole nine with the game. But there was a little more than just my 2.5 credit hours and drinking at the bus.
How did you feel being the oldest player in the game? Although honestly, your season had like Megan, who was also like PhD. Jackson, I don't know if Jackson was that much older though. But like you guys were
like older.
I feel like you and Megan weren't like that far off in terms of age.
No, not too far off. And I guess I'll throw the question back at Jack. I think, what are you, 24 now?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You're 4 years away from being 40, bro. You tell me how it feels. You're 4 years away from being 40, man. That's
I found a gray hair the other day.
Yeah, I found a few grays too. It's pretty brutal. I'm 31 now, so like 31 slaps differently than 28. It's a new animal.
Mm-hmm.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
So this time you would find 3. If you played Survivor again, you would find like 3 idols probably, right?
Probably 4, let's be honest.
I don't think people know that you like interviewed for Real Survivor and you almost made it to the end, right? Are you allowed to talk about that?
Yeah, I mean, they didn't cast me so far. Yeah, I applied for the show back in 2013 with a pretty outrageous casting video. Have you guys ever seen it?
No.
No, I don't think so.
No.
I'll drop the link in this.
Oh my
in this chat.
gosh.
Oh my God.
Let me pull it up, but I'll just keep talking. Anyway, so applied in 2013. Video was good enough to get a call back. So they called me, like did a quick interview, and they're like, all right, we kind of like what we see. So then the following step was actually filling out the paper application. So there's like the paper application, unlike College Survivor, comes like way after the fact. So then filled that out. Apparently I did something good enough, and that it was like pretty brutal. It was like 30-page application, like,
Oh my God.
essentially like a personality test, asking like all these like bizarre questions on like trying to figure out if you're a sociopath or not. And then after that, ended up getting a call back with 2 people, and it was like a video call. Went through that process, and at the beginning of the call, they had mentioned that the following step was like an invitation to LA, where they invite I think like around 100 people, and then like at the 100 people, then in LA they do more like in-person testing and whatnot, and then I think they whittle it down to like 30 or so, and then they do the final cast. So I was like this stage before getting invited out to LA, and essentially at the time I was living with my parents, and they were like, I forget what season it was. It was like what season is like 31 and 32 or 30 and 31, because they cast for like 2 seasons at a time.
That was like Wilt Apart and Second Chances and like or something. Yeah,
definitely wasn't set. I think the season that like came out when I was thinking was like what season was the Millennial one? Millennial
versus Gen X. I thought that was 28.
So you would have been Gen X, right? Or like Boomer Tribe?
Boomer Tribe.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't that one. Maybe it was the white collar, blue collar, red collar. Was
Flame Run Beauty. One of those.
Yeah. So I think they couldn't really like cast me somewhere because I was like white collar, but I was like a free spirit, and like they were like, we can't put essentially what they said was like, we don't know who you are, like you're just too all over the map. And I was like, no, that's me. But yeah, and then they also like shat on me for living at my parents while I was like 24 or like however old I was at the time. I was like, fuck off, man. I like came home from college and started living at my parents' house, and like, you should be an adult. Yeah. All right, I just dropped my audition tape, so enjoy it.
Oh my God.
The first it's not safe for work. The first 10 seconds is me and the Borat Mankini holding
a
Survivor
so
torch.
Young.
So
oh my God.
Viewer discretion advised for sure.
Wait, that's amazing.
That is so funny. How did you hear about Survivor Michigan?
So someone also asked me this, and the story is fairly simple, but I was surprised because I didn't like what date did season 1 actually start? It must have been in 2018 or 2017.
2017.
So I was at Ross from 2017 to 2019. So I was there from not part of Survivor Michigan, but like I was on campus for pretty much the start of the show. And I heard anything about it until season 4 casting. So I went 3 seasons without hearing like a peep about Survivor Michigan. And then one day I was just pissing at Ross, and I looked up, and above the urinal was a fucking sign for Survivor Michigan. I was like, this is incredible. So I took a picture of it, sent it to a few of my buddies who are also like really into Survivor. What?
You found the poster in the urinal, like above the urinal?
Was that you, Sam?
Above the urinal,
yes. I remember putting that there.
I
did. I put that. I was like, oh, someone's gonna be pissed and gonna see this.
Wow. So I have Morris to thank for my Survivor.
That's so funny, dude.
But no,
that's amazing.
I actually didn't apply. So I took a picture. I thought it was kind of funny. I sent it to my friend, and we like laughed about it. Then I never applied. And then we went to our ski trip over winter break to Jackson Hole. And then we had so we're in Jackson Hole. So we inherently will do a barn dance at one of like the $1 Million Cowboy. And I think I insulted all of like Jackson Hole's local population because I dressed up as Danger Dale, because of course that's what the locals look like. We went to the bar dance and party as Danger Dale at the bar dance. And then my buddy's like, yo, we got to did you ever apply to Survivor? I was like, oh no, I forgot about that. And I looked at the photo, and I was like late for the application. So I sent this like sob email while I was drunk to to Austin. I was like, yo, I'm a grad student. I forgot. I'm so sorry. Can I apply? He's like, we're already in the middle of the casting, like the audition process. But since you're kind of like, we don't get a whole ton of grad students, we'll give you a chance tomorrow if you can make it for an interview. And I was like, I'm like, all right, sure, whatever. So I fell asleep in the Danger Dale costume, woke up the next morning, still with like the wig on and everything, and like dialed into this interview with Austin Pace. And I was like,
oh my God.
Really played up Danger Dale, making a fool of myself. And lo and behold, here I am.
Wow, that's iconic. Austin Pace.
Yeah, I love just picturing that interview because I feel like you are two like as different of Survivor people as I can like imagine. And, like,
yeah. Fun fact: me and Austin went to the exact same high school.
What?
Really?
Yeah, I learned that. I didn't even know that until like after my season. I'm sure he had told me, and I like forgot. But yeah, he went to Palatine High School, so small world.
Oh, is that the new Pioneer?
What was that?
The new Pioneer.
Oh yeah,
there's all the history of Survivor Mission people from Pioneer, like this person up there.
There we go.
What did Anne think of you playing? Was she like really invested as well?
I mean, certainly not as invested as I was. Like she was getting worried for me towards the end. The beginning, like pre-merge, there wasn't a whole ton of like stressful nights, right? So she just thought this was like something fun and whatever.
Yeah.
But post-merge, especially once you kind of get down to like weeks like 7 through the finale, like there was like sleepless nights, like me freaking out, like the Survivor dreams where you're waking up, you're tossing and turning, and she's like, babe, you need to stop playing this game. Like you're like losing sleep, like literally losing sleep over it. I'm like, I can't help it. Like I'm too invested at this point. And like at that point, like I'm sure the viewers do realize, but like you're in the game for like 2 months, right? Like week 7 and on or whatever. Like it's like 2 full months that you've been like just constantly thinking all day, all night about this. It's like a long time to just be like fixated on something. Yeah. And it really fucks with you. So like, and then the final week with the Final Four was like the worst. Like I wasn't eating and sleeping. I was like thinking every like waking moment, like how do I like scheme this to make it to the end and whatnot. And she was also like, you're ridiculous. You're inviting people over during our dinner time because she's working a full-time job. I'm at school, so we only get so many hours of the day to spend with each other. And like she comes home from work and I'm like, have Shannon on my couch or, Jackson's over. I'm like, would you guys like some pasta fagioli my wife made for dinner? Like trying to, offer them some nice home-cooked meals. So she was a little annoyed at that. And there was like times when she's going to bed. I'm like, all right, good night, babe. Love you. I'm going to go search for an idol. So she'll go to bed at like midnight and I'm going out like searching for shit. And she's like, you're crazy. But she was really happy. So it worked out in the end.
That's nice.
Yeah.
And remember she came to the after party and like hung out with all of us. It was fun. She was cool. She
did. And beyond the after party, do you remember the party I threw?
I do remember that.
So my whopping $50 winnings, $12.50 of it. $12.50 of it went towards a Survivor Michigan T-shirt. So I was left with $37.50.
There you go.
And then $37.50 went towards like $200 worth of booze that I spent on for a party at my house after the show. I think I got a keg and I got some like a bunch of booze and I invited like all of production and all of like the players over. And I was forcing people to take beer bongs and whatnot. And of course I was like, no one else was drinking it except for me. And then I think Sam ended up taking me, not taking me home, but like having to help me like go to bed or something. Sam, I think you were the hero that night.
I remember. Yeah. A few of us were like dragging you up or down the stairs or something like that. Yeah. It was funny.
Yeah. I wasn't even there, but I remember hearing, or I saw Snapchats, I think.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I had croquet. It was dope.
Oh yeah. It was dope. Yeah, Dale knows how to throw a party.
Ball. Yeah. All the wand games.
So
wow.
Looking at the game, I mean, I don't know, there's so much to talk about. I guess like what kind of main things stuck out to you about your game that you want to talk about from watching the show?
I mean, I think the edit did a fairly good job of showing what my game was about, relying mostly on the social element of the game and forming deep relationships. I think one thing that I've discussed in previous chats is like the game, what the edit doesn't show you is actually how under the radar a lot of those relationships were. So like not many people really thought me and Jackson were close, but watching it, people are like, these like, you know, alpha bros are together. They're like in the game in real life. Not many people really had thought that. I mean, they suspected it. Same with me and Shannon. Like, I think that was a surprise to everyone at the end in Final Tribal Council when we're like, we've had an alliance since day one. People are like, what? Like, and then even I think actually the most suspecting relationship was me and Matthew. But even then, no one really knew how close we were. So I think that was something that wasn't shown as strongly, but definitely a reason, like, or a strong point in my game that I thought I did well at is like downplaying those. Another thing I had mentioned, kind of like dumping on Jackson a little bit, but in other players, but like College Survivor is primarily told, like the story is told through confessionals, right? Like, and that was something I wasn't really aware of because I had never seen College Survivor previous to our season, other than watching Matthew's season 1, like as it was airing, but I wasn't familiar with College Survivor. Whereas like normal CBS Survivor, it's shown through the actual meetings amongst the players, right? Like you kind of see those interactions and you kind of see like the dialogue that's going on. And then you sprinkle in a few confessionals about like what happened in the game. Whereas Survivor Michigan is completely different. It's like everything's being told through confessionals. So there's like literally probably hundreds of hours of actual gameplay that I'm investing in forming these relationships and kind of tweaking some of these strategies that you don't see on screen. And then like admittedly, like pre-merge, I was like very boring on the screen. Like I kind of amp it up post-merge and start doing the characters. But even then, like Jackson and Shannon and, you know, a lot of these players are much better confessionalists. And I think a lot of the viewers are like, oh my God, they're playing such a good game because they're really telling the story great and they're confessionals. It's like, no, like, sorry, that's actually not really how things went down. Like, just because you're a good confessionalist doesn't mean like you're actually playing the game that well. It's what's happening in those interactions with the people is kind of what really matters. But yeah, I think those are all my quarrels or whatever.
I remember you mentioning. Sorry, go ahead, Sarah.
I was just gonna say, like, I think a lot of people do forget that like other players don't see the confessionals. I don't know, like some people are like, oh my God, they're so mean, but it's like the other person like didn't know that at the time. That's what they were saying about them.
Yeah, as long as you're comfortable with them seeing it 2 years later.
Yeah, exactly.
Whatever.
Yeah, and especially like as like a jury member, like especially with me being like literally the first person on the jury and not like getting to see a lot of the merge gameplay, like I'm not able to see everything that you guys are talking about in confessionals or even in meetings and stuff. So like I feel like that was and just like a lot of things that people were talking about in the comments and be like, you know, I think they like almost don't like because I feel like to us on the jury, even like it maybe like took a while for us to like realize how dominant you were playing. Like I for a while even thought that like Jackson was playing the better game, and then like slowly like realized, oh crap, like Dale is really like controlling everything. So like I definitely think you did a good job at doing that, and like it was definitely a very intentional thing on your part to like downplay that for a while and like keep those relationships low key.
Well, thank you. And yeah, Jack, I mean, you're like the biggest shithead of them all, right? What are you, a sexist and don't know how to vote? I mean,
disgusting weasel.
Yeah, you disgust me, bro. What the hell?
Disgusting. We changed our group chat name to Disgusting Weasel and Friends.
Yeah.
That's great. That was great.
I remember you mentioning once, Dale, how like, or somebody was mentioning that how like you didn't even necessarily, there's a lot of meetings that you didn't even necessarily record because a whole part of your thing was like, oh, I want to be genuine. Like this isn't even like recorded. Like let's just like have a conversation. And like those are things where it's like, oh, it's, you know, they're not included in the edit because like obviously they weren't recorded, but it's also like that was a part of your strategy sometimes. Yeah,
I think the biggest moment in which like I used that was in like car rides home with Shannon. Like she lived closest to me, so I drop everyone off, and then me and Shannon would always park out in front of her house and like honestly talk for like 45 minutes to an hour sometimes. And when you like invite someone over, I think it's a little more natural to like set up the computer because like it's very clear why they're coming over. But when you're driving someone home, it's less like it's more genuine, I guess, right? It's a little more natural. So I felt very awkward, especially like even when we were talking game, like in front of her house, like hold on, let me set up this camera on the dashboard. Then you're turning into game mode, right? And it's like it's just not, it just isn't as authentic. So I just like very like knowingly did not record those sessions and just like chat with her and kind of go in and out of like gameplay to just like normal life conversation. And I think that authenticity really resonated with a lot of players rather than trying to be like a game bot and just like kind of what Matthew and Jackson were described by a few of the other players. So.
Yeah. Going back to season 2, like I feel like that's something that Mallory also did really well. Like I feel like it's not really like a good thing for like the show, like obviously we want as much video as possible, but like I think I remember definitely that was something that Mallory did a lot, like there'd be a lot of conversation just like talking with her before we got to the strategy, or like we didn't even like record the conversation at all, or like blah blah blah, and like definitely I feel like that helped her like really socially, and like definitely you did the same thing. So it's kind of funny how I feel like you guys like on the surface seem to are pretty different winners, but there's a little similarity between you there.
Of course. I think like one of the producers had told me like kind of early that the majority of like conversations between people don't make the cut, and it's usually in your confessionals or whatever. Right. So I was like, all right, I'll sacrifice a little bit for the TV, but hopefully gain more in the game.
Definitely.
Yeah. That being said, there were a couple of meetings you had with people that were just like some of the best TV I've ever seen. Like, especially I think the one with you and Shannon, the day that you were drunk and like were just like on a porch. Like that was one of the best meetings I've ever seen, and I'm so glad that was filmed because every second of it was just like hilarious.
Yeah, I mean that conversation honestly was close to 2 hours. I don't know how the hell she dealt with me for like 2 hours of drunk tail, just like spewing garbage, but she did. Fortunately, I had like the inclination to film it off of my camera. So luckily I was able to go back the next day and watch all 2 hours to figure out what the hell I even said, because I like didn't remember half. I was like, what did I tell her? So I was able to watch back and be like, okay, this is what I said. Now I know what's going on. But there was a lot there, and like it was like summed up to like 2 minutes in the edit, right? But there was hours of conversation going on for sure.
Right.
Because like, were you? I mean, like after the fact, were you like, oh shit, like I can't believe I told Matthew and Shannon about my idols, or were you kind of like, I was going to do that anyways, like.
Yeah, watching it back, like the edit when I was like shitting on myself for telling them about the idols, I was a little confused because like I was always planning on telling them about the idols because it's gonna come out. I was always playing them for myself at 6 and 5. Like I wasn't gonna play it for anyone else, and I just felt like you lose a lot more trust if you just don't tell them and then play it surprisingly at 6 and then play it again surprisingly at 5. It's like you had these all along and didn't share with it. So since I knew I was playing it, I was like, I'm gonna tell them anyways. So that was kind of the plan. I think what was maybe like a wrinkle in that strategy was I was originally telling people I only had one idol, and I made those bogus rules that it could only be played at 10 and 6. So then they wouldn't put any votes on me. And then I was going to carry that idol over into week 5 so I could have 2 idols in week 5. But then I was like, it's not worth the small risk of them. I thought there was an idol nullifier or some shit. So I was like, it's not worth it. I'm playing an idol. But yeah, I think that was my original strategy, was like show them the one idol, tell them about it, 10 and 6, carry 2 idols into 5, and then really have power that week. But yeah, I was like, all right, it's not worth it.
So we want to talk a little bit about that move at Final 7 to not play an idol. Like, what would you consider that like your biggest move for the game? Like, yeah, what we talk about that one?
Yeah, I mean, probably the bigger move is Eliza.
I
think that was probably
that too. Yeah,
that was probably a riskier move, not playing the idol at 7, and then obviously the Jackson move I think was another fairly big move, at least in the context of the game. But what's not shown in the edit is after I get eliminated from that musical chairs challenge, I go out in the hallway, and Shannon actually hadn't left for her broomball game yet, so it was me, Shannon, and Ivy in the hallway. And we like connected for a few minutes. It was just the 3 of us. And Shannon and Ivy were like, it has to be Matthew this week. It has to be Matthew. It's 100% Matthew. Like we've been saying all along, we've taken out like Megan, we took out Katie. We've been waiting to take out a big threat, which like didn't feel great for me being like one of the big threats, but they're like, we're taking out a bigger name this week. So it's either Matthew or Jackson, preferably Matthew, but we're taking out one of them. So like Shannon leaves her Brooming game thinking I was like, hey, as long as it's not me, it's like, because I'm trying to stall to 6 with my 2 idols. So I'm like, I'm fine taking out a big threat. Sure, you want to take out Matthew? I'll take it. You want to take out Jackson? So I was told them both I'll take out either one of them, Matthew or Jackson. Matthew wins the immunity, which kind of kills my plan because he would have been a very easy, okay, big threat target. Now Jackson is, or now Matthew's immune, but Jackson's like fair game, but I don't think they wanted to get Jackson rid of that time. So as I left for that week, I knew there would be an alternate name other than Cat. It was very clear to me that there was going to be a big threat like on the chopping block. Mm-hmm. So if I had come back from that week not hearing about any other plan other than Cat, I was playing an idol. I was like, if there's no plan discussed with me outside of Matthew or Jackson at that point, that means that it's not Jackson, it's me.
Right.
But the matter of the fact was like, so Jackson called me, and then the next morning Shannon actually called me. And Shannon was like, hey, I got to come clean. I actually came up with the plan. So I also, what's a little confusing is that plan was actually Shannon's, not Ivy's. So Shannon came up with the move to get me out. And then I think Ivy really ran with it, but it was like Shannon's kind of like, she drew it up, if you will.
Right.
She's like, I came up with the plan to get rid of you. I brought it to Ivy. Ivy's on board. I'm having I regret doing this. I don't want to actually get you out, but I want to let you know there is a plan to get you out there, and it was started by me, but I'm not going for you. And like, to me, that gave me the confidence not to play the idol. Cause like from like a game theory standpoint, why would Shannon come to me and tell me that she came up with the plan to get me, but isn't moving? Cause then if I do have an idol or do have an advantage, then I could very clearly target her. So it just didn't make sense to me that she would come to me with that information unless she was being sincere. So I kind of took a gamble, and the trust between Shannon and I, and obviously it pays off. But
yeah.
Wow. And I think like a little, even in backdating from there, after the Eliza vote, me, Matthew, Katie, and Jackson, like immediately after the vote, all went to Insomnia Cookies, and we knew that the merge was coming, and we're like, we need to come up with a reason why Eliza got voted off. And at that point, Matthew was like pretty set on like still wanting to be Tokidoki strong, even though we just like blindsided him because like you just have the numbers, right? Like I think he was going with wherever the numbers were. And even though he was pissed off if he could still have the numbers. So he was agreeable to coming up with the lie on why Eliza got out. So I think the first reasoning was, okay, let's just say it was 4 on Katie and 1 on Eliza, and Katie played an idol. And then we're like, that probably doesn't make a whole lot of sense because she was in a 2-2 split last week. If she had an idol, she's probably playing it there. So then the lie that we told everyone was Eliza came to Matthew saying, I really want to get a Tokidoki out. Let's get Dale out. And then Matthew came to me, and then we all like turned on Eliza because she broke Tokidoki first. So that was like the lie that we were going to tell everyone. That night after Tribal, I actually call Shannon and I tell her that exact lie. So like she sleeps on it, and she thinks at this point that Eliza turned on everyone, and we just reacted to Eliza's move. Woke up the next morning, I called Jackson like, dude, we're fucking idiots. Like there's absolutely no way that this lie maintains throughout the game. Like either Matthew's just going to open his big mouth and like, spill the beans. Katie will have incentive at some point to talk about like, oh yeah, they lied about that. It was actually, 3 against 2. And, Matthew was a part of that. Like we knew it just wouldn't kind of make its way through the game, and it could, hurt us more than it would help us. So I immediately called Shannon like at 9 a.m. the next morning. I was like, I couldn't sleep all last night. I was tossing and turning. I was sweating. Like, I just don't feel right lying to you. Like, I can't lie to you. This is like, in reality, I was just like, holy shit, this lie is going to get out. But I told her that, just didn't have it in me to tell a lie. And then told her what actually happened. But I think that moment in the game really set the tone to Shannon and I's relationship moving forward, because at that point she was convinced that I could not lie to her in the game. I was losing sleep over it. So then fast forward to week 7, she's like, I had my moment of slip up. She's like, just like you had yours, like at the Eliza vote, I had my insecurity in our relationship. I tried to target you. I want to like come clean just like you came clean. And like was like, more or less looking to start clean at that point. We each were 1-1 on the scoreboard, but each kind of fucked up and come clean. So I was like, thought that was a very sincere, honest conversation.
That's awesome. Do you still talk to Shannon? I think I saw someone comment that they were like, do we think Dale and Shannon are still friends?
No, yeah, we still chat. I mean, as much as a 31-year-old and a 21-year-old like chat, right? But if there's like something funny that like an experience that we shared in the game, and we'll like text like, hey, like saw this, like, you know, thought about this moment or whatever. Like try to just like keep up and maintain, you know, that's like one thing I don't always do the best job of is like, you know, maintaining relationships and just like checking in on people. So I try to do that.
Good. Like compared to some people I know, like you like snap me like a decent amount with like inside jokes and stuff.
Yeah, that's fair.
I appreciate that. Yeah.
You're always Snapchat in the group chats. You're keeping us alive.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I guess that's a fairly easy way to keep up with people. But I guess it's not personal, right? Snapchat, there's like just a group or whatnot. So yeah, I talked to her, talked to Jackson, I talked to Matthew, probably the most, and then I still keep up with Ivy here and there. And then
I didn't know that.
Again, just like stupid shit, like hey, going to New Orleans, Mardi Gras, like, you know, just kind of being fun with it. And we're not having like serious conversation. Although I did have an hour phone call with Tom a few weeks ago, which was just
Wait,
no way.
Yeah, he was obviously watching the season. I think he sent me like a question about like what were you thinking in this game? You know how like analytical Tom is. And then he's like, let's you know, have a catch up call. I'm like, oh, that sounds cool. Yeah, I'm down. It was most of our conversation was actually about he just graduated and he's looking to go into engineering. And for those of you that don't know, I previously was an engineer before business school, so kind of did 5 years as a mechanical engineer. And he was asking about just like some career related advice, and then it transitioned from engineering advice into like an hour's worth of Survivor talk and these crazy theories on what could have been if things shook out differently. So it was fun.
That's awesome.
I love that. Yep. I would just like listen to like an hour podcast of you and Tom like talking Survivor theory. Like that'd just be hilarious. I am all game, Tom. I know you're eventually gonna fucking listen to this, so let's do it. Let's set up Tom and Dale like a special edition, just one-off podcast hosted by KYTL.
Oh,
and
we'll do it. Also, if Paul and Joe are listening,
oh my gosh,
my wife is 100% Mrs. Dale, 100% down to do an exclusive with you guys on the you know, the thoughts of a wife of a Survivor winner. So she's,
oh my god,
let us know, Paul and Joe. She'll get on the mic.
I love Paul and Joe.
Oh, that'll be great. That'll be must see content for everybody. Sure.
All right. Is there anything? I guess you got kind of already talked about like what wasn't shown, like your relationships and like how private they were. So I think we like touched on everything. And like I feel like there's nothing you really could have done differently because you won. Or is there anything you would have done differently?
Yeah, you could have kept me. We could have gone to the end together.
Yeah, I was pretty sold. I was pretty sold on the Meat Shields alliance. I'm a little disappointed. Actually, question for Jack. Because I don't think, or you still had your own KYTL episode, right?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, yeah.
I was just curious, like, I think you briefly mentioned, like, I felt fairly confident in that Meat Shields plan, or not fairly confident, but like you had a good feeling. Like, what gave you that confidence? Was it me? Was it Jackson? Was it Matthew? Was it like the collection of all three of us, or like what?
Yeah, I think it was definitely like you and Matthew the most. Jackson, I definitely felt a little sketched by, but I felt like in our I think we had 2 conversations, and I felt like good about them at least. Like we had our first one, and I think you like called me like to follow up as well, and we chatted for like another 40 minutes or something. And like I just thought that you wouldn't do that if you weren't like at least a little considering it. But you know, yeah. Like Jack, I definitely got, you know, not as good vibes from Jackson, but I feel like we had, you know, a good connection at least. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's like kind of like one of the reoccurring themes of the season was like everyone not getting a huge sense of security from Jackson, and I definitely took advantage of that during the season for sure. Yeah,
like were you ever considering going with that at all? Like I think I heard you talk about once, maybe like if you didn't have 2 idols, or you'd at least think about it more. But yeah, I definitely like. I mean, I think in Survivor, a good player always considers all options, right? You don't dismiss something right away. Excuse me, and that's why like also you just never say no to a plan. I think there's some players that are like, no, I'm not going to do that. It's what are you doing? So definitely consider it. But once I got that second idol, my game narrowed from getting to final 3 to getting to final 6. So I like bought myself essentially 3 votes because at 4 I had made up in my mind that
if I play 2 idols successfully and made it that far, there's absolutely no chance that anyone in the world would bring me to a final 3. So I was like, okay, my game just became make it to 6 and win at final 4.
Mm-hmm.
So now I'm sitting at 10 and I got to get to 6. So I have 4 votes to go.
Mm-hmm.
And like the easy math there is there's 4 El Nortes. So just really hone on that. And especially if everyone was really adamant about getting rid of you that week, I was like, I'm just trying to buy myself a week by week. So I got, Jack. Okay, as long as it's not me, let's do Jack. Mm-hmm. The following week, there was like a controversy on whether it was Katie or Megan. And then it kind of came up with this crafty little plan. Like, well, why don't we just promise right here, right now that, if we do Katie this week, Megan's next week. Like, can we all agree to that? Can we like prove, our loyalty to each other by doing back-to-back votes, like on what we each want this week? And everyone agreed to that. So I was celebrating because I thought I got a buy one, get one, right? And I was like, all right, now I'm at 7. So to me, it was irrelevant whether it was Katie or Megan. It was just as long as I could get 2 kind of lumped into 1 vote. So then I have 7, and we all see what happens at 7. But it was just like trying to get to 6. So kind of dismissed the plan as soon as I found that second idol. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that definitely makes sense. Yeah, I think it would have been interesting to see where the season would have gone if like I had found that idol or, or something happened. I feel like it could definitely be totally different. Maybe it ends up being completely the same, but you're very good Survivor players. So probably would have been pretty similar in the end, but
probably giving me too much credit there. Yeah, I think like more important, at least in my perspective, of like more important than the idols themselves is knowing like who holds the idol, right? Mm-hmm. And then you could play with that information. And I think that's probably a big difference between your game in season 2 and my game in season 4 is like I came in like never tell a soul, no matter what, about your idol, like ever. Mm-hmm. And I think there's obviously certain situations where letting an alliance member, like letting them in that you have the idol makes sense. But unless like only if it's absolutely necessary. And I was like kind of taking that gameplay, like if I absolutely need to, I'll share about the idol, but probably not. I think I'm smart enough to like figure it out and play it correctly without anyone knowing and then explain myself afterwards. But I had that information, and like the game of Survivor, like information is like the strongest currency. So exactly. knowing where 2 of the 3 idols were, and like other players knew where 0 of the 3 idols were because Eliza also didn't tell anyone about her idol, right? Like had Eliza maybe told Shannon or Matthew, like, hey, I have the idol and then got voted out, that would be information that they had. Okay, I at least know where 1 is. I just need to count for 2. All these players were playing the whole game not knowing where 3 idols were. Like that's a fairly difficult thing to navigate when you're like thinking about strategy and whatnot. So and I think that's like in a large part why we try to do that thing with Matthew and try to get him to flush an idol. It was more about just revealing information and whittling down where that could that final idol could be. And I think probably after the Ivy vote, I think it became pretty evident that idol had been flushed or was no longer in the game.
When did you like realize that it was Eliza? Like, did you have a hunch that it was her, or like it was not till after the game?
Not till after the game. I was completely shy. Like after final tribal, everyone like kind of gets up on the stage, and then like someone, I think maybe Adam or someone mentioned to me, was like, "So did you know about Eliza's idol?" I'm like, "Whose idol?" I was like shocked. I was like, "Eliza had it." I figured that Ben went home with it because like we had heard about how like much you like kind of like rolled him over with the sincere lie and whatnot, and Katie did a really good job of actually talking that up. So I was like, I figured Ben had went home with it, but yeah, Eliza shocked me. But like in reality, like it shouldn't have, right? She's an idol queen, so yeah. I think now I'm just rambling about just different like moments in the game, which I think like there was a disconnect between like viewership and like kind of what happened. But at least in my perspective, what really like a lot of people were calling like the Megan missile, like Megan screwed over Camilla's game, Megan screwed over Jack's game. Like really like Katie like was a large part of that. Like she really, really played that up during the swap tribe about that relationship, and she revealed a lot of information about what had happened. And I think that put a bigger target on your back more than, Megan dropping like the information to Jackson. I think really that information coming out hurt Eliza the most, if anything. Like, I think like Megan really screwed over Eliza's game because when it was the split between Katie and Camilla, it was very clear, like without even Jack having a returnee alliance, like forget the returnee alliance. We just wanted Jack gone because we knew he was a good player, and anything to weaken Jack was going to be like a win for us. So we're like, okay, let's get rid of Camilla. And if the returnees, like if Matthew and Aliza fought very hard for Camilla, it's like showing your cards. Like, why would you fight? Like, neither of us have a relationship with either one of them. If you're fighting so hard for Camilla, you very clearly have a strong relationship with Jack.
Right.
And so it was like, the easy thing here is Katie, like give us a reason why it shouldn't be Katie, because Katie had already told us about Jack and Camilla's relationship. So I don't think they really had an option, they being Matthew and Aliza, to sway too hard without Megan sharing any information. Then when Megan drops that information, it crushes Aliza game. Because now we know there's a returnee alliance, and we're like, well, fuck it. We need to get rid of like the most threatening returnee. And between our two options, Matthew and Aliza, like Aliza was the more threatening returnee. So it was like Megan sunk, Aliza's game, if anything.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
I appreciate all the inside info from that, Dale, because I know there's a lot. And we're only a little bit late in our time. We have one more interview coming up. So you have any final thoughts on the game? Any final advice from the winner of Survivor Michigan Wolverine Wars for future Survivor players?
Yeah, I mean, come up with many different personalities in the game and many different characters, and then use those different characters strategically with different players in the game, and then go from there. But make sure that you can balance them, because you can't get them twisted. Like had Couch Boy, Danger Dale, and the Godfather all got their lives messed up. It could have been real fucking messy, And buying a whiteboard is huge. You definitely need a whiteboard in the game.
Oh, for sure.
I got a backpack size one, and I would carry it in my backpack and then rip it out. And I actually think people started like making fun of me for like, oh, not your whiteboard again. They're like, come on, we need to visualize this.
Yeah.
So
us three love our whiteboard, so
Oh yeah.
100%.
Real quick though, which one was your favorite character to play?
I mean, Swag Daddy is not a character. That's just like
that's just you. That's your
that's
soul.
just the swag. But I love the way that Ian edited The Godfather, and Sam, I know you're a big part of that. So thank you for doing that. But like, it just I felt like it had a lot of relevance in the game itself. Like it was like the storyline of the season was kind of going in that direction, and then the way that they edited on top of it was just incredible. Whereas like Danger Dale, there's no really relevance of that character to the game itself. It's just like a goofy fucking cowboy, like searching for idols or whatever. But the Godfather kind of was a good character with my white shoes and white pants, and then also the cigar that I couldn't smoke in the house. It was incredible. But yeah, kudos to you, Sam. I know that you were, well, I guess all of you guys, well, Jack played, but both Sarah and Sam, I know you were involved in production a lot, and just the hours of hard work. I don't think you guys get enough credit. I know people, try to sing your praises, but thank you guys for all the work that you've done and made it very enjoyable for us players to kind of relive it and watch it and then kind of interact with the fans as it goes. So, yeah.
Yeah. Aww. Thanks, Dale. I appreciate that.
Thanks. Yeah,
thanks for being on the show and bringing so much fun and energy to it. I think that you're such a great, like, all-time character, all-time winner, and just so glad that you decided to do this, and you made it fun for everyone. For sure. Also, I know this isn't relevant to the podcast, but I know you're about to boot me off this thing. Jack, I'm still a little hurt that you ditched me in Kansas City.
What?
Still haven't gotten over that, bro.
Sorry, I forgot. I was like, what happened with that? I'm sorry.
When did that happen?
I was visiting a friend in Kansas City, and my friend got like absolutely like shit hammered during the day, and he passed out. And I was like, who else do I know in Kansas City? I'm like, oh, Jack lives there. So I hit up Jack. Yo, let's go out and meet up. I was going to leave my friend at home and just go out. He's like, okay, let's do it. I'm like all pumped, get changed, get ready to go. And then like he ghosted me for the rest of the night.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. Okay, he does that though.
Straight up ghosting. I'm like, what's going on with this guy?
Jack is a little ghost sometimes. Look, he's wearing his little white ghost outfit.
Like, ghosty boy. But
I'm sorry, Dale.
Well, if you're ever in Denver, I'll make it up to you. Yeah.
You know what? It's more likely that I'm in Denver than Kansas City, so I'm going to take you up on that. We'll have to grab a drink.
Yeah.
Drink some of those craft or those fufu beers.
Fufu beers. Yeah.
We'll drink some fufu beers. There you go.
Okay, if y'all ever in San Diego, hit me up.
Nah, we won't be there.
Wow.
Sorry. No, likewise, if you guys are in Chicago, let me know. We'll try to get together.
100%. All right.
Let me shoot me a text after your next thing, after you watch my audition tape. Let me know
Oh my
Yeah, for
gosh.
sure.
Oh, we'll definitely will, Bill.
if you guys will
All
cast it.
right.
All right.
I'll see you guys.
Bye.
Bye.
I have to pee.
That's good.
Shannon.
Shannon, how's it going?
What's up?
Good.
Well,
One sec, I have to pee.
she'll be back.
All good.
Oh, how have you been?
I've been okay. I've been normal.
Okay. All
I saw
right.
you were in Iceland, right?
Yeah, I just got
Yeah.
I got back over the weekend, I guess.
Yeah, that looked like so much fun. I love Iceland.
Yeah. So cool. Random place.
Wait, where'd you go?
What do you mean?
Like where in Iceland?
We took a camper van around the ring road, which is
Oh my god, I
Nice.
always want to do
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
yeah. I would recommend. It's a lot of fun, and it was like a cool way to travel because they were just the two of us. So it was like really chill.
Oh wow.
Sick. How long were you there for?
Just like 9 days. So like a week.
That's a decent amount of time.
Yeah. It was like the perfect amount of time too. Cause like
Yeah.
even when you're like tired, you're like, well, there's only 3 days left. Like it's
Mhm.
just a week.
Yo, yo.
Yeah.
Yo.
Hello.
Hi.
Shannon.
Should
Alright,
we
we can-
have the icon?
I know. What can I say? That's so funny.
Wait.
How much did Dale have to say? How
Oh,
much
Dale.
wait, real question. How much of what Dale had to say was relevant?
You know what? He kept it clear and
You
concise.
did.
He
I
said
think
this other.
he did.
Yeah.
He kept having more things. He would like get like on a tangent, and be like, "Oh wait, then also there's this thing, and then wait, also there's this thing."
Yeah, and then week 7 actually that reminds me about
Of course. Dale's memory, considering he's an old man, is
I
so
know.
much better than mine. I
know.
like
Really?
genuinely. I was watching this and I was like, "Oh, I did have a crush on Jackson. That was fun." Like
Wait, was
I
that
just
legit?
not, like, massive. I was like, "Oh, Katie played." Like, ooh.
Oh my god, that's so funny. What have you been up to, Shannon? What have you been up to in these past 2 years?
Yeah.
I just was finishing college. Big. That was like the biggest thing. I would say that was top of the list of things I've done. I don't know. I don't do much. Like
you read a lot of
survived,
books.
didn't get COVID.
Do you still play hockey?
Like not on a team,
Mm.
but
Just
like-
solo hockey.
exactly alone. Oh.
Yeah.
Exactly. I'm really into speed skating now. No, I mean, like, I don't have a team to play on. I played on a beer league in the fall, but since I don't know where I'm gonna, I don't know enough adults in Ann Arbor to be like, hey, can I join your adult league team? I'm also
Ooh.
afraid of people, so I'm like, maybe I should not force myself to interact with a bunch of strangers.
I feel like you're so like charismatic though.
Yeah,
Thank you. It's funny.
see, maybe you'll find people where you won't like them at first, and then you'll realize over time that actually
Yeah.
you do like them.
So true.
Like
that can
that.
happen. People change. And also, here's the thing. On site, everyone I meet, I'm like, oh, I really don't like them. And so it's really just, I got to put in a little more effort.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like some people are like, they automatically like everyone at first. And then the rest of people are like, you have to like kind of prove to me that I should like you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm like the second.
Yeah.
You got to prove it to me.
I feel like you liked me right away. We had some good jokes our first meeting at Noodles.
Yeah, that's sort of true. But I mean, like I think I was immediately like, oh, if Jack would have been on my tribe initially,
Mhm.
I would have been like, he would have been the Eliza. Eliza was the first person I reached out to on my tribe. I would have reached out to you first. But also I think I was really good in a lot of meetings at being like, oh, I need to make this person think I like them.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Because that's the game a little bit. And I also was like, well, I can't go into every meeting and be like, I really don't like this person. Then I would have been voted out.
I think it was Jackson was mentioning in one of his interviews. He was like, yeah, like Shannon really surprised me the most because she was way different in meetings than she was on the screen. You know, in the meetings, she was just like so bubbly and nice to everybody all the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, like my impression of Jackson was that he didn't care about my personality. So I just needed to like present something to him. And I was also like, oh, what's the most likable version of myself to someone like Jackson? And it's like to be agreeable and meek and like, like I don't need Jackson thinking I'm a strategic threat. Not that I ever was a strategic threat, but I was like, I don't need him to know that I think about this game. Like I knew he was like planning for meetings and stuff and like all those other things. And I was like, I'm not a game bot and I don't want him thinking I'm too similar to him.
Yeah.
Not that I was. Like, again, I was being honest. Yeah. I wasn't super similar to him, but he was someone who I was like, I don't want to expose a lot. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. I think I was also really like unsure of myself. And so I was a little bit like, well, I just want to be liked.
Like, do you think if like you now played the game that you'd be any different or any less I don't know, because I think what endeared you to the audience was that you were more emotional. Like that's why people liked you more. Do you think you would still be like that if you played again now?
Yeah, probably. I don't think that like I think I've changed in some other ways, but one thing I've like realized definitely in looking back and in watching is that like playing essentially did like ruin a lot of my self-confidence in a way that I didn't expect. And so I think I would have a lot of trouble with the same things that I did. But instead of like them slowly breaking down over the course of the season, I would come in with them a little broken. Like, I don't think I've fully have recovered in that sense. I think I'm like, yeah, because in Survivor, you need to be super aware of how you're perceived. Yeah. And I think I became hyper aware of that to the point where I was doubting myself, like, in every single interaction I had with other people. And like as a sophomore girl in college, I think you're naturally a little self-conscious, or at least I certainly like I was already, not like busting at the seams, love myself. Therefore, playing this game that then required me to be a critical thinker about how I was perceived and also constantly feeling like I was being perceived like I was a stupid little girl. It like certainly didn't help because I was like, oh, maybe it's because I am a stupid little girl.
Yeah, is that why you didn't like Matthew?
Oh, I mean, like that's the biggest reason. I also don't think that Matthew like did a very good job of even like pretending to give a shit about me outside of the game. Yeah, like our first meeting, we like talked a little bit about hockey. Like when Jack and I met, it was like, haha, we're making jokes. We're at Noodles and Company. We're talking strategy, but we are also like getting to know each other as human beings. And with Matthew, it was like, here's the strategy. Bye.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like not fun to be around someone like that. And also with Matthew, he constantly was like talking shit about other players and specifically Kat. Like Kat's the only one I really remember, probably because it was the most consistent.
Yeah.
Nobody really ever had good things to say about Kat, but like, I don't think Matthew realized that like, I'm similar to Kat. Like Kat and I were the most similar people on our tribe. We were both in LSA. We were both sophomores. We were both females. Like, and so when I'm constantly being told that like Kat's stupid, that Kat's a lead woman, that Kat's all these other things, that like Kat doesn't deserve to be playing, I was like, oh. And like, since Kat's not a big Survivor fan and neither am I was like, it was hard for me to separate those critiques of her from critiques of myself. Because also sometimes when you meet with people, you're like, wow, it really is annoying when Jackson says this thing to me. You like say it to someone else who says that sort of thing.
Right.
You're like hoping they pick it up. I think I was always like, are they saying that because that's how they see me? Because they're trying to subtly hint that I need to change the way I'm acting.
Right.
Because like I think at the end of the day, and like watching it back, that's not what it was. But it was hard to differentiate those things.
Yeah. When you're in the game, it's almost like a Twilight Zone kind of thing where it's like you start doubting everything and like you can't, you don't really know, like, is this person telling the truth? You never know if you can trust anything anyone says or if you can even trust your own judgment.
Yeah. Yeah. And you'd think in a game that was like season 4, that was relatively easy to, like, there wasn't anything that was like insane strategy that happened while I was playing, really. Like, no crazy votes or anything. You'd think that I would be at least a little more confident. Like, you would think weeks and weeks, like, nobody's writing my name down. You'd think that I would be like, yes, let's go. We're doing great. But every week I was like, fuck, I'm bad at this. Yeah.
Well, how did it feel to like watch it back and like see how the audience like reacted to everything and like their reaction to you? Because you were definitely like a pretty big fan favorite, I would say.
Yeah.
Not the fan favorite.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I was like, it was interesting. I think like Ian did a lot with the edit, certainly. And also I had a lot of content. I in part because I played for so long, like anyone who gets to the end is going to have more videos than Tom, who got voted out. Like,
Tom had a lot of videos.
That's true. Maybe not.
Yeah,
I think you're right. That was a bad comparison. Then Aaron, I knew that I had a lot of content, and also I like. So I think it was pleasant to like see that people weren't like, why is this girl always on the screen? She's annoying. But it is a little embarrassing to watch. I mean, it's hard for me to watch. Especially the last few episodes.
Yeah.
I would say the last 3 are like really hard for me to watch. For obvious reasons, but also like my most emotional weeks. My hardest, like looking back at that time, that was like the hardest point of my sophomore year, not just because of Survivor, but because like of being a sophomore and like taking college classes. I don't know. Like, what do you want me to say? Finals are hard.
It's like the end of the semester. Yeah.
It's like, that's not shocking to anyone. But like, it's cool. Cause I think really at the time, since season 1 was coming out, I was like, oh, people are potentially going to watch this and make judgments about me and my character.
Right.
And so what do I do to balance the fact that like, I want to keep recording content for the show, but also I don't want people to look at me and make judgments about me.
Right.
But I don't think I would like allowed myself to be so self-conscious about that because I was already so self-conscious in game that I was like, whatever, I'll just upload it because I recorded it. And I think like someone said to me, like, they were like, oh, you sort of like, or I don't know, maybe they said it on a podcast and they were talking about me, but like the camera was like a therapist almost, where I was like,
I was just gonna say that,
and complain about everything that's going wrong and then turn it off and then go to bed. Like that's how it was for me. And so it's like, oh, I'm glad, like that was me being relatively genuine in almost every confessional.
Yeah.
And so I'm glad that people weren't like, she sucks, she's the worst person ever, because that would have
was actually just me being like
me just like laughing in my room. People are like, boo. I'd be like, oh, cool, like more reasons to hate myself. But also I think I like am aware that like it's great to be a fan favorite, obviously. I was aware going into that last episode that people were gonna think I was stupid. And that was my biggest fear. Like even knowing that I was going to take Dale with me to the end no matter what. Part of the reason I'm so emotional after that Matthew vote out isn't because I was sad that I was glad that Matthew was out of the game.
Yeah.
Like, I promise. I was really upset because I knew that I was going to look really stupid, that the producers in the room thought I looked stupid, that the jury thought I looked stupid, that nobody understood the complexity of that decision, that nobody understood my emotional journey throughout, like that nobody was ever going to understand, nor were the fans. Like I couldn't even articulate it fully at that time. And so I was like, I'm going to be very misunderstood about this, and I'm going to have to live with it for the next 2 years at least until this comes out and people are like, oh, this is how we see Shannon after a full season. This is how we see her make this decision. This is how that decision goes for her. Like, because at the end of the day, like, I kept telling myself it's not worth it for me to play if I don't win. And I was like telling the videos that. And then I made a decision knowing it would lead to me not winning, like very likely not winning.
Yeah. Yeah. But like with this game, like emotions do come into play, you know. It's like you can't even like not everything can just be strategy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And
that's like the whole thing.
Like,
yeah.
Oh, stupid strategy, Shannon. Like after me being emotional all game, I'm like, what? I'm not a strategic mastermind. I don't know what you expect.
I was wondering if you wanted to walk through as much as you want to, at least, like your reasoning behind that decision at Final Four, and like how you felt about it then, how do you feel about it now? Just like dive into that, because I know I don't know if there's a ton of videos even explaining it.
Yeah, I was gonna say my interpretation of it from what I saw. I think it just, I think it seemed like you valued your relationship with Dale more than like whatever, you know, the outcome of the game would be, which I thought was like respectable, to be honest. Because it's like you guys had like a true friendship and like a true bond. And like even Dale was talking about how you guys, there's so many hours logged that like weren't on camera. It's like you just can't really explain that bond. And it's like, yeah, it's a game, but you still feel like you're betraying your friend. So that's how I interpreted it.
Yeah. I mean, definitely that was part of it. But I also, I think I was in a place where I was like, if I was at the other end of this, if I was if Dale had the power and he voted me out, I would have felt incredibly betrayed. Like I wouldn't have voted for him. I would have been livid on the jury. Like, and I would also have had to like then live with that decision. And I think I was at a point in making that decision. Like, again, I've had a really hard semester, really hard few weeks, whatever. Also, playing Survivor is hard and a mindfuck, and not something that is like super easy to detach from your real life, to detach from anything, really. And I think what was really complicated for me in that week is that during the challenge, I was like, Matthew just cannot win. Even though I really I would have rather won, or I would have rather Dale won. But I was just like, if Matthew wins this, I don't know what I'm going to do. And so after that, I'm walking home and some of the producers are walking the same direction as me. And Cooper or someone, I don't think it was Cooper, but he was in the group and they were like, who is it this week? And I was like, it's Matthew. Like, I knew at that point that it was going to be Matthew. Yeah. I knew it was Matthew going home. I was going to have a hard time being convinced because I was fine with losing at that point. And I think the reason I was fine with losing wasn't because I like to lose. It wasn't because it wasn't even necessarily because I valued my friendship with Dale so much that I could not bear to vote him out. It was that I was really messed up about the kind of person I was becoming. And I was like, I don't think I'm going to be able to live with any decision I make. But the one that's going to make me feel like a good person.
Right.
Even if it's the one that's going to make me lose, is the one to take Dale with me. Because at the very least, I could stand by that decision and I could say, like, hey, I do care about something. I don't care about this game that has like broken me down emotionally, mentally, that my family doesn't want me playing, that my friends are mad at me for playing, all these other things. I was like, everyone, like, I went home for Easter that weekend because that was the weekend of the challenge. And I was like crying to my mom, my sweet mother, who's like, could you just chill? Like, could we eat dinner? Like, could you not be sobbing in your room? And I was like, she was like, why do you keep doing this? Like, you're so upset about it. Why did you put yourself through this? And I was like, I don't know how to explain this to someone who doesn't understand, who just thinks I'm crying because I'm like, I was tired. I don't know. Like, it was so hard for me to explain, but I also just like felt like a shitty person. I felt like I'd been so cruel to Kat in the beginning for no reason. I felt like I needlessly lied to Jack. I needlessly lied to Megan and all these other things. And I felt horrible about them to the point where I was like, I don't like the version of myself that I've become while playing this game. It's a version of Shannon that is horrible, that is a bad person, that is unlikable, and that is also a dumb, stupid girl. So like, if I make a decision that reinforces the idea that I'm a dumb, stupid girl, but it makes me feel good, like, then that's the decision I need to make. Like, that was me making that decision. Also, like, it let me say, like, fuck off, Matthew. And like, yeah. I know that I could have potentially gotten the necklace from Kat. I know that I could have potentially, you know, Kat and I could have voted Matthew out or could have voted Dale out. I know that. And I think looking back, I'm always like, oh, I could have made a different decision and it would have looked different. But at the time, like it would have felt horrible. Right. No matter what I did. Sending Kat to the jury would have felt horrible. Like if I would have gotten her to give me the necklace, sending Dale to the jury would have been really hard for me to reckon with.
Right.
Sending Matthew, like, and then keeping my 2 closest allies with me felt great.
Yeah.
Like I didn't feel great because I was going to lose, but it felt like a decision that was, even if it was stupid gameplay, it was like good Shannon play. Right. I don't know.
Yeah. No, that makes sense to me. That makes sense to me.
Yeah, I think that's valid. I really appreciate you like going into it because I feel like those are the thoughts that is like hard to really convey in like a confessional. It probably wasn't necessarily even like filmed in the first place, you know, but it's like I feel like it's so hard for someone watching it to really understand the full depth of like what's going on in your head. They're contributing these decisions, you know, and like all the outside factors that are you know coming in too.
Yeah. And I think it'd be like reductive for me to just be like, oh, I didn't want Matthew to have a chance at winning. I was pretty sure I could beat Matthew. Like it wasn't that
you would have beat Matthew.
Yeah. Like obviously now I know.
I know.
But like at the time, like Dale was trying to like sow some doubt that Matthew was gonna beat me. And I like never could really believe that. Because I was like, well, even if the jury loves Matthew, they're not gonna be able to I did something. Like I've done a few things that Matthew hasn't done. And yeah, I think it's interesting. I just like, again, I say to Dale in the final episode, the final episode is like horrible for me to watch. Yeah. I'd be hitting the pause button. I was like, let me take 10 minutes away from this. But when I like tell Dale, like I was really afraid of looking like a stupid little girl or whatever, like that was a really big fear. But I think I was also like, well, I am that. Like, if people perceive me as that, like, okay, like I am a little bit of that, but also like, it's because I'm 19. I was about to say I'm currently 21. I was 19 at the time. I was a sophomore. Like, I'm still learning and growing and changing, and my brain is still developing. So if that's how people see me from 2 years ago, like now, then that's okay, because I know for sure that I've changed since then, that I've grown and I've learned and whatever else, even if I'm not perfect or whatever else. I was like, I think I was aware that that's how I was going to be perceived. And I hated that perception because nobody wants to look stupid, especially not someone who feels stupid. But like, it was a perception I realized I could live with if it meant I could keep some of my integrity.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I definitely feel like I'm sorry if I was too harsh on you during the final tribal council. I think I was just really rooting for you to win at that point. So I just felt kind of, I don't know. I definitely like feel like if I could go back now and like, you know, after seeing, you know, all of your confessionals and hearing about you struggling decisions and stuff, I feel like I might have made a different choice, but it's definitely, I don't think I ever thought you were a dumb little girl. I think I was just, you know, like you're not a dumb little girl. And you weren't then. It just, And
you never treated me like that. Yeah. But my experience with other men in the game, other than like you and Nate, was Jackson and Matthew, who did treat me like that. It was also hard for me when I was thinking about like, what do I say to the jury? How do I communicate? I was like, well, if I expose to them like this emotional trouble that I've had potentially during this game, they're going to see me as really weak. And that's not going to, like, the jury I knew liked Dale because he was a strong player and a strong guy, and he came into the game strong. And so I was like, well, how do I present myself as equally as strong, or even not equally? How do I present myself as a contender for strength? You know, because at the time I was like, well, nobody sees me that way. I can't say something that then makes them see me as less than. Like, because I know that Jackson doesn't understand the emotional gameplay. Like, I was aware of that. I was like, he doesn't get why I've been crying.
Right.
And all these other things. And, like, I felt like after the tribal council that Matthew gets voted out, I'm, like, sobbing. And I was so upset about it. But then I was like, the jury is looking at me. I was like, I want to go home, but I can't do it without walking by all the I like walked into the bathroom, and Cooper was like, are you good? And I was like, no, am I supposed to go home? Everyone's looking at me cry. And like, I think that emotions are a weakness, and I always have, and I know that that's like wrong, like whatever, let's work on that in therapy like later. Let's not work on that right now. But it's like something I'm aware of, that like, I perceive emotions as weakness. I don't know what that is. Maybe just internalized misogyny.
It's just like society and how we're raised.
But I think I was also like, well, I don't want to seem any weaker than I already do for making this weak decision. Even though looking back, I'm like, my decision to keep Dale around wasn't weak.
Right.
It was just a decision. Decisions in Survivor aren't necessarily like weak or strong. They're weak or strong gameplay. The decision, it's like, I don't know.
Honestly, I think the hardest thing in Survivor is like keeping the confidence in yourself, because you're like start to believe all these perceptions and like what people are saying. Like you unlocked a memory for me that I forgot about. Like I remember feeling like I was so bad. I was like, I'm such a bad player. Like I kept asking my friends, I was like, do you guys think I'm like doing a good job? Like, yeah, I just like the thought, like in the time I was like, wow, like everyone's gonna beat me at the end. And it was just like what people were like saying to like try to knock you off. I don't know. It's hard to like keep the confidence when you're also like hearing all that stuff. That's like the hardest thing about this game, I think.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, I totally forgot about that. That was such a thing.
Where you're like, people in my real life, how am I doing?
I was like,
they don't see me play the game. They don't know anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. On to more lighthearted stuff. Were there any breads that didn't get shown in the edit?
I mean, like everyone from Camilla to Dale had a bread.
Had one, yeah.
From Camilla, so like, yes, not all of them were shown. Also, like Ian brought this up in a different podcast, and it unlocked a memory. I like rated everyone at 6, I think, or maybe 5. I compared them to a tennis player. I was like really into tennis at the time, like pro tennis. And so I like compared everyone to a professional tennis player, except I'm pretty sure Matthew was like high school tennis or something. Tennis. He was like, he thinks he's in the pros, but really he's just like a high school player who's like got to states. I don't know. I was really into just like making it more fun for myself by comparing people to things. And yeah, there were some breads we didn't see. I honestly don't remember all of them. I remember like, I was thinking about it the other day. Remember
what
like,
would Tom be?
Oh, I don't know what Tom would be. I don't know Tom well enough.
Oh, okay.
I think what's hard is I tried to do it off of their game personalities. And I feel like I've been exposed to lots of Tom outside the game. That I'm like, I don't know, Tom would be some bread that rises fast. But like, I don't know enough about bread. Like, I don't know.
That's hilarious.
Tom honestly might be like a pasta.
Oh, yeah, I see it.
Which like isn't a bread. But like,
but it's in the same category. Yeah, it is.
He wouldn't be like spaghetti. I don't know.
Maybe like
that. Where Tom would be
like gluten-free pasta.
Yeah, it's like unexpected, but then you're like, no, it makes sense. I don't know.
That is hilarious.
I think Jack had honestly. I was so mean to so many people. Jack had a nice one. Jack was like, a croissant.
Yeah, that's so nice. I love
That's like the best kind.
Mhm.
That's
Thank
sweet.
you.
And like, I think my reason was like, well, it's not always the healthiest choice, but it's a choice you like. Like, it's a choice you're happy with. And like, that's what Jack is. Like, if I would have decided to like, stick with Jack, I probably would have regretted it, but I would have been happy at the time.
Well,
Yeah.
Jack, you're like in the dark. Why does it
I
look
know, I
like you're in,
need
like a
turn my
timeout
lights
room?
I feel like I'm in timeout for not voting for you.
Yeah,
Tribal
come on,
council.
Jack. He has to sit in the dark.
The program.
I'm joking.
All right. Speaking of Jack, all right, I have a question that I've been wondering about for a long time. So on the swap tribes, you know, the one where you guys were trying to throw the challenge and then you didn't, and Nate won that puzzle. What would have happened if you guys had lost?
Oh, I genuinely think that Nate would have gone home. I wouldn't have wanted to vote out Jack or Megan at the time. I think that Jack and Megan, and Jack obviously, correct me if I'm wrong, would have voted with me.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, like over Ivy. Like, I don't know. I was thinking, like, Ivy would have had to pitch a really strong case, and then she would have needed to be backed up by every member of old Tokidoki for me to feel good enough to vote out Jack. Like, I would have been. Everyone was like, "We'll just get Jack out." That was like the plan, but that's not what I wanted. And I think I was also already feeling a little bit like stomped on. I was mad at Jackson because right before we swapped, right before we had that big conversation as a tribe, I called him on the phone. And I was like, the worst scenario for me is ending up on a swap tribe with Kat and Ivy. And that's what happened. He was so unsympathetic. He was like sitting in his little chair in Longclaw. And I was like, oh my gosh, sit on your little thumbs. I was so mad. And so I think I would have it would have taken a lot of convincing for me to be like cool with it. And also I wouldn't have I think Kat would have voted with me at that point, so that we could vote out Nate. I don't think I would have voted out Ivy. And I think that if I were to tell Jack and Megan Ivy, they would have probably thought I was lying. If I was like, it's Ivy this week, they would have been like, I guess.
I would have done it, but you know.
I feel like we could have done a convincing enough case for Nate that it would have been like, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. But Nate's too good at puzzles. Yeah. Jack literally was out of town.
I was
like, I don't know. I was doing the beginning part where we had to find the cards, and I was trying really hard to be bad at it. But not hard enough, I guess. Ivy and Kat took so long on that middle section.
Yeah, the throwing. Yeah.
Katie just could not do the slide puzzle. And Nate was like,
he said he had an app on his phone to play slide puzzles.
He was practicing. He was ready. But also everyone else on that season, I think everyone was just bad at puzzles.
No, they just could not do puzzles. It was ridiculous. He was the only one.
I was like, if it was a Sudoku, I could have been really good at that. I was really good at Sudokus that year. I would do Sudoku and then be like, oh, I should record a confessional. Close a little Sudoku book. Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah. Oh, well, you see me all those weeks. I'm like, I like Jack. I like Megan. I do not like Tokidoki.
Yeah.
I would have been like, let's keep him around. Because at the time, I was like, I'm not going to win this game. I don't know what I'm doing here. So I might as well keep around the people who I want to spend time with. Because I was realizing, I don't think I realized until later, I didn't go to very many tribal councils. So it's not like I was having crazy meetings, a loaded meeting schedule. But I was sort of realizing oh, it's going to be a lot of dilly-dallying and meeting with these random people. So if I'm going to be spending 40 plus hours a week thinking about these people, I want them to be chill.
You want a croissant.
Yeah.
I don't want a cinnamon raisin bagel.
Yeah.
I think that was Matthew's. Matthew's was a cinnamon raisin bagel because nobody likes because you choose cinnamon raisin bagel when they're out of all the other bagels.
That's true.
I mean,
that
people
true.
who like cinnamon raisin bagels don't like themselves. Sorry.
Oh,
Again, my perception of Matthew at the time. I don't really know Matthew outside of a game setting.
he's very different outside of the game, I would say.
Yeah, I like only know him in game, and I do not like him in game.
Really? What?
What?
I don't think that came through in the show.
Sorry, I don't know if that really came through.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, I tried to keep it really low key, you know? I didn't want anyone to think I didn't like that at any point.
No. Very subtle. Very subtle.
Yeah. I think I kept it subtle. You know,
I think it was, you know, the super fans, if they were really paying attention, they might have like seen it like an Easter egg. You know, like an Easter egg, but like an Easter egg you need to pay $50 for, like that kind of Easter egg.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Watching it back, I'm like, oh, at least I'm funny. At least I'm funny when I'm tearing people apart.
Yes. Very entertaining.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, is there anything we missed that you wanted to talk about?
That I wanted to talk about?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really mad that Jack didn't vote for me. I'm joking. I'm like upset about it, but like also I get it, but also I'm upset about it.
Yeah, Jack, what do you have to say about that, huh?
No, I don't regret it.
I'm
just pushing it too much.
I think at the end of the day, I had a good final tribal performance.
Mm-hmm.
And I like lost the game fair and square. And also, like, whatever. I don't even know what Dale did with his winnings. Like, bought beer? What would I do?
He spent like
gone to Noodles and Company again.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't have much else to say. But also, like, you guys, what's it like to get voted out? I'm just curious. You guys can all tell me your experience.
I feel like I wasn't like technically voted out. That's stupid challenge. It sucks though. Honestly, like I feel like once you get voted out, it's kind of like you black out. I don't really remember Cooper snuffing my torch. I don't remember what happened after that. It's terrible though. It's like all your dreams got crushed.
Yeah, it's especially worse when like you're sitting at Noodles Company with somebody for like 15 minutes and they're telling you that you're safe, you know, and they're gonna vote with you, and then you know.
Jack, you know I'd be crying about that.
I know.
It's the worst if like you didn't see it coming at all.
Yeah.
Which I think I guess you guys kind of experience.
Mm-hmm. I definitely saw it coming.
Oh yeah, Sam
merge.
I feel like didn't.
Yeah.
No, I did not see it coming.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No.
Yeah. I think it's like I know that I'm not a great Survivor player. Like whatever. I think I played a decent game considering the game I was playing. And also like I think I was slept on continuously.
Yeah.
Because nobody tried to get me or Kat out. And anytime they did, I was like, hey, let's not. And then it didn't happen. Which like looking back and watching back, I'm like, oh, it's funny. Every time they were like, it's Kat, I was like, please no. And everyone was like, okay, since you asked.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, whatever. There's like a good game, but like I'm not no Survivor dominant people. But I think it's like Matthew Israel knows what it's like to get voted out, and I don't. And Jackson knows what it's like to get voted out, and I don't.
True.
Jackson was blindsided too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like forget that he was like proper. He like stood up in his little polo shirt, his khaki shorts, and he was like, "Oh, bye," and he was like running back to Lockwat, and I was like, "Guys, was that funny? That was crazy funny to me."
Yeah.
Yeah. Ooh. Wow. Sorry to bring That's all it is, though.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I like asking people who played Survivor Michigan when I talk to them. I'm like, oh, what's it like to get voted out? Especially people who like hear astronomically more than me. I'm like, it's funny. I wonder if Kat does it. You guys talk to Kat though, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, so excited.
That was it was funny. It was a good listen.
Yeah. I'm excited. I'll tune in.
You should be. You should get the popcorn ready. It's the show. The show. You guys have all been great.
Thank you. But I was the best.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Easily.
Thank you. You would vote for me for best podcast performance.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. See, he's 100%. 100%.
I mean, I will vote.
Jack is iffy. He might. You know, maybe he's gonna have to watch the.
I know Dale had a really good podcast.
I don't.
Oh my gosh.
Like if it was anybody but Dale who was just on, I don't know.
This is cyberbullying. I'm joking. Okay, I don't have much. I don't have anything else to say. I was about to say I don't have much else, and by that I mean nothing else.
Oh my gosh. Well, thank you so much for coming on.
Everybody, if you're into reading books, you should check out Shannon's Instagram book account. You should plug that real quick.
Wait, what?
Yeah, I run an Instagram book account. It's just called Murph Reads Books. I've recently decided that I will be posting more on it.
Oh my gosh.
I've read 240 something books already this year.
Holy
so I'm like, oh, maybe I'll actually post more and be like, you guys should read this book. Because sometimes I read books,
what?
like,
how do you read so many books?
I am inspired.
Dogs gotta read.
Dogs gotta read. Yeah.
Dogs gotta educate herself.
How do I read so many books?
Yeah.
Turn the page, baby.
Look at all the books behind.
Yeah, these are all real books. It's not as this is
not props.
Background. I have a bunch of books on my desk. I got this book in the mail the other day. Little Jeff Tweedy action.
Ooh.
I love a good memoir.
I saw you just read
I love
Jeffrey's
memoirs too.
Memoir.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, guys, you should read, or I listened to the audiobook because she reads it. Crying in H Mart. Michelle's Honor, which is Japanese breakfast. Her book, her memoir.
Okay.
It's heartbreaking, but it's also so sweet and good.
Okay.
But it'll make you a little hungry.
I'm like already hungry from all this bread talk. And I actually have croissants.
I bought rosemary bread today.
Ooh.
Oh wow, that's great.
That's like elevated.
Who's rosemary bread? Is that Sarah?
Oh my God. Honestly, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
A little like higher class, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Yeah. And you're like, oh, is it just basic bread? And then it's like, no, it's rosemary, actually. You're wrong. It's better than that. Yeah.
Oh.
Okay. I don't know how to. Should I leave? I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna go eat a croissant.
I missed the button. It's
All
good
right.
to see you all.
Yeah,
I've never met you before. You seem like a really cool gal.
I feel like if we were on the same season, I would totally be in your alliance.
Oh my gosh, absolutely.
Yeah.
We love strong women.
Yes.
Anyway, bye guys. Thanks for having me.
Bye. So good talking to you. And there you go. Those are our 5 interviews. Now make sure to look out for the final podcast of the season. That's going to be the podcast with just me, Jack, and Sarah, where we're going to talk about the finale and talk about the All-Stars teaser and what's coming up in All-Stars. So you're definitely going to want to listen to that stuff. Stay tuned for that and look forward to seeing you on the final podcast of season 4. See you later.